All cattle, no hat, welcome back. I'll go ahead and get straight to the point. For those of you who are here strictly for the Black Ops 1 competitive class setup, I'll start by briefly going over a few of the classes that you will need. This game was unique in the sense that everyone ran the exact same class. For about 90% of the games, there wasn't any deviation to the standard class setup, not for weapons, attachments, lethals, tacticals, or even perks. So if you're interested in just a few meta classes to use, I'll show them to you shortly. For those of you who are interested in alternative class setups and more depth in general, I'll show that after. I'll be explaining a little bit about the reasoning behind each class. I'll also show some comparisons between specific classes so you can understand them better. I'll demonstrate how you are actually supposed to play with each class. Let's get into the first set of classes. Starting off, all equipment is banned. You'll see that I have a camera spike in the equipment slot as a placeholder. If you've already equipped something, then you can't remove it. So go ahead and change it to a camera spike because it's a non-lethal item and gives you the least competitive advantage if accidentally used. The first class was a standard MLG class that was used during the original Black Ops 1 2011 MLG season. This was a meta class that was almost always universally used by all players. Even traditionally SMG players primarily used this class. There were only a few specific times in which deviating from this class was acceptable. Notice how I said acceptable and not better. This was literally the best class that you could run. Any other class besides this was just trying to temporarily adapt to a very specific situation or playstyle. First off, we have the FAMAS with a red dot sight. This gave you the most precision and accuracy to take gunfights at all ranges. For your secondary, you'll rock a Python with a speed reloader. This revolver could two-shot a player up close. Out of the few attachments, the speed reloader was the most practical. Your lethal and tactical were a frag and stun grenade. Frag grenades were able to be thrown far, landing in precise locations. Stuns are great for stopping a push or checking an area. Lightweight Pro allows you to move faster and take no fall damage. This was great for keeping a fast pace while also not having to worry about mitigating fall damage. Sleight of Hand Pro reloads and aims down sights faster. This is generally just good to keep up fast-paced combat. Ninja Pro silences any noises you make and amplifies any noises the enemy makes. Ever since COD 4, some sort of silencing perk has always been meta. There's no reason to voluntarily give information of your whereabouts to the enemy just because you're not running this perk. So that's the standard MLG class from the Black Ops 1 2011 season. I could end the video here because you literally only need this class. This game's meta was like Halo. Everyone used the same gun and was on an even playing field. This didn't lower the skill gap, it just narrowed the focus of the skills required. Everyone started with a BR in Halo 3, but that doesn't mean the game didn't take a high amount of skill to be good at. The skill gap was just narrowed. Anyways, that was the all-around class, but for this video's purpose, I'll refer to it as the Slayer class. Let's move on to the support class. This class is a little different. You'll see that I have an extended magazine on instead of the red dot sight. This will pair nicely with the Steady Aim Pro in my Part 2 slot. Steady Aim Pro gives increased hip-fire accuracy, faster sprint to fire speed, and a faster knife lunge recovery. The knife lunge recovery won't help you too much because its usage is so minor. What really is the main idea behind this class is the benefits of improved hipfire and faster sprint to fire in combination with the extended mags. This allows you to play very aggressively in close quarters areas while still being able to challenge at a distance. Hipfire is really strong in this game. Steady aim on an assault rifle typically wouldn't seem like a good idea. When you consider that most people will be running sleight of hand, you are actually at an advantage up close for most fights. Another difference for this class is the Semtex. You could run a frag instead, but the Semtex allows you to play faster. The frag is an overall better grenade except in one area. The time it takes to throw a Semtex versus throwing a frag is much faster. This isn't even including that most times when throwing a frag, you are cooking it at least partially. The more time that you can have your ready up and ready to fire, the better. Here's the OBJ or Objective class. It looks exactly like the Slayer class except that you are using an AK-74U with grip instead of the FAMAS with red dot sight. This class is really good up close. It can be usable at medium range, but it does struggle. Anything past this isn't even worth challenging. There are a few other alternative variations of this class. You could use a Semtex instead of a frag for the reasons mentioned in the support class. It's just a faster grenade to use and keeps your gun up as much as possible. It sounds weird to say, but you have to learn how to use a Semtex in this game. A frag is a standard and everyone uses it. You've gained the knowledge of how to throw frags, but probably not so much for a Semtex. It's not hard, it's just a skill that's not practiced much in Black Ops 1. Think of it like using a Semtex in COD 4. Sounds weird, right? Another alternative for this class is using steady aim instead of Sleight of Hand Pro. Your hipfire will already be better than everyone else's, so do you really need the extra benefits of steady aim? It's nice to have the sprint to fire time. You could almost exclusively hipfire at close ranges. It's not a bad option, but it's something to think about. The last alternative variation of this class would be to use extended magazine instead of grip. I would only do this if you were going to use steady aim, because then you'll be really struggling while aiming down sights. For the next two classes, these are required preset classes that you must have to play in CMG matches. I'm not sure if you have to use these, but I think you just have to have these classes made. I tried to do some research, but I couldn't find out why you have to have these classes. It seems like such an odd idea to have these specific force classes. I'll go into possible speculation as to why I think these classes have to be pre-made. The first reason is that there is some glitch, bug, exploit, or some issue using a red dot sight, speed reloader, and or sleight of hand. Maybe after years and years of playing, something has come up that gives a player an unfair or unintended advantage. I'm really not sure about this though. It seems like the most likely reason that you would force a change like this, but I can't imagine this is actually the case. Let's then go to extended mag and steady aim. My only assumption that this being forced is that it encourages people to play faster. It actually makes players want to play at closer ranges rather than further ranges. ADSing slower and without red dot sight makes long range gunfights more challenging. The Python with the ACOG sight seems a bit goofy. I'm guessing this is for a balancing reason as well. It makes using it at close ranges more difficult because you have a scope. This could prevent any two-shot cheese. It also gives players a little bit more range, so it changes the way the revolver was traditionally used. Having the same thing but for Marathon seems pointless. Most people will be using Ninja, so having a second class won't really get much use, so this seems kind of odd. Guys, I really have no idea why these classes are required to have, but they are. That's it. That's all of the 5 most important Black Ops 1 competitive classes. You can use these classes in any competitive match and be perfectly prepared. As many of you know, on this channel we love depth. We take the term all cattle, no hat very seriously. If you are interested in some alternative classes other than what you have been shown, then stick around. I'll also be showing some visual representations of how each class should be used. We'll compare the Sleight of Hand Pro versus Steady Aim Pro playstyle. We'll also do something similar with Ninja Pro versus Marathon Pro and Capture the Flag. At the end, I'll show you the most optimal preferences for red dot sight customization for competitive. Starting off with the first alternative class, we have the PHiZZURP class. This was a throwback to one of my favorite players who passed away almost a decade ago. He was known for being one of, if not the best S&D players in history. He was also known for being innovative. This class is exactly the same as the MLG Slayer class except for one key difference. Scavenger Pro. Being able to replenish ammunition was quite pointless since you didn't typically stay alive long enough to use all your ammo. Also, everyone was using the exact same weapon, so you always picked up more just by moving around the map. The reason that you ran Scavenger Pro is that you replenished lethal and tactical grenades. Black Ops 1 had the best frag grenade in the entire series, only narrowly being beaten out by COD 4. Being able to resupply your frags could easily at least double your total frag grenade output. Stuns were a great tool to slow players or check for information on a player's whereabouts. Having these replenished allowed you to have a maximum amount of control of enemy player movement as well as information. You could only use this class in domination since that's where you got the most value out of the perk. The main objective of this class was to be able to rotate between power positions, picking up the blue scavenger bags along the way. You'd be able to throw a nade from across the map to hit players off spawn or while they were capturing flags. The next class is the AK-74U with Marathon. This is the same class as the MLG OBJ class, but instead of Ninja, you'll be running Marathon Pro. This is most useful in CTF. I wouldn't recommend you using Marathon outside of CTF because of how loud you are without it. On screen, you'll be seeing a comparison of me capturing flags with Ninja on the left and Marathon on the right. You'll see just how much faster I am with Marathon because I never have to stop sprinting. If you can get past a certain point where the enemy can't stun, nade, or shoot you, then you are pretty much home free. This sounds obvious, but when you think about how far behind the enemy players will be because their sprint is exhausted, it's quite substantial. The next two classes are very specific niche classes that I saw rarely used during the MLG tournaments back in the day. The first is an OBJ class with the Spectre. I only saw this class once and it was on Summit. The goal of this class is to get control of top middle area of the map. You want to avoid any medium to long range gunfights. You want to dominate the close range and utilize your hipfire. The Spectre wasn't a bad gun, it was just overshadowed by the AK-74U. It did less damage but had a faster rate of fire and reload time. The recoil was more accurate, but it didn't have as good of bullet penetration. You can see how this gun could have had a specific use on certain maps. The SPAS-12 was similar to the Spectre in that it had a very localized use. I remember seeing players use it on Summit the same way they did the Spectre. What I remember most though is PHiZZURP using it on S&D on grid while playing around the B-bomb site on defense. This was another one of his classes that he popularized. I'm going to play a full 2 rounds of how this class was supposed to be used. PHiZZURP was truly an innovator and had such a unique playstyle.
I hear some bayside, but it should trip me out, especially if I'm looking across.
Yeah, he's middle map. Middle map, going to our side middle. He's in our middle, dude. He's in our middle B building. Maybe he went towards you, I don't know. Oh.
Just get over towards the same kills me, man.
Are you bottom or top?
No, I'm bottom, I'm trying to switch off.
You just shot at me.
Yo, he came, he's top.
He's planning.
I'm planning it too.
He's up top. Good job!
Good job, team. Get ready for the next round.
They're definitely gonna rush B or A, man. Watch middle map.
Defend the objective.
I've got our shotty up here with you, I'm nading.
Watch middle, he's gonna come up middle. Yeah, I got him. I'm stunned though. They know I'm up here. Okay, so one's in the back. Yeah! 4-0, baby. Good job, fellas.
Who says shotguns can't be competitive? I think if done correctly, they can just squeeze their way into very unique situations like that. Speaking of being unique, if I recall, the EU rule set was quite a bit different. They used to play demolition instead of domination. I think I would much have preferred to play that. I'm not sure why we didn't play demolition other than it was introduced and played most recently in MW2. I'm not sure that's a good enough reason though. The next unique aspect to their variation of competitive was the FAMAS, and I also believe the AK-74U were banned. Players used instead the AK-47 and the MP5. This definitely gave the game a bit more diversity within the meta. I'm not sure if stuns were also banned as they were in MW2. They typically use flashes instead of stuns. I'll touch on the Semtex and smokes briefly. Yes, you can use them. They aren't difficult to use, but you probably haven't practiced using them on these maps. It takes more map knowledge to know how to and when to properly use them. I wouldn't use them unless you have that knowledge or are willing to learn it. You will get more kills with frags and your utility will be more consistent with stuns. Now let's look at Sleight of Hand Pro versus Steady Aim Pro. The first thing we're going to look at is the sprint to fire time. Steady Aim Pro gives you a huge advantage on those close range gunfights. Just being able to fire first when sprinting around a corner gives you a huge advantage. How big is this advantage really though when you were comparing it to sprint to ADS time? For close range, sure, Steady Aim wins, but when talking about sprint to ADS time, it's lacking. Depending on how you play, most of your gunfights will probably take place with you ADSing. You can see that not only is sprint to ADS slightly faster with sleight of hand, you are also more accurate because you have a red dot sight. This allows you to be able to hit those mid to long range shots much easier. I personally prefer running sleight of hand over steady aim for that exact reason. Regardless of which one you choose, here's an example of how you could play with each class. You'll notice that with sleight of hand, I'm playing slower. I'm not sprinting around corners, I have to try to have my back up against a wall. I'm looking to take medium to long range gunfights. I am jiggle peeking and checking every corner before going around it. It's slower, more methodical. It's a very traditional, disciplined way of playing. This is how you should be moving, looking, and aiming with sleight of hand. Steady aim is a different story. Not to say that you shouldn't do all of those things that I just mentioned with sleight of hand. You are rewarded for playing faster. You can sprint around the map and not be punished as much. You can sprint around corners or into rooms. You can rapidly sprint, then go back to running, and then go back to sprinting. This allows you to enter a continuous flow between moving and ready to fire. The type of playstyle should be mainly used indoors or in tighter areas. This is how the class is meant to be played. If you try to take medium to long range gunfights against a sleight of hand user, you will often lose. You need to put yourself in a situation to utilize your tighter hipfire spread. Here are my settings if you're interested. The first 4 settings are default. Your sensitivity for this game should be at 2 or 3. Competitive sensitivity has always been lower because it's how you can get a more consistent aim. If you are a slower player, you should run a 2 sensitivity. If you're a bit faster, then you can run a 3 sensitivity. I couldn't recommend anything higher than this unless you run an SMG or shotgun primarily. At most, I would go is to a 4 sensitivity. I would first start at a 3, and if you aren't consistently hitting most of your shots, then I would drop down to a 2. This will force you to play slower and focus on your positioning more since you can't run as fast. Use full name for player name indicator, it just makes people more visible. My safe area is pulled in as far as it can go. This brings your HUD more towards the center of your screen, making it easier for you to process information. Here are my audio settings. Make sure you turn music off because it blocks out the other sounds while playing S&D. At the end of a round, the music will start playing and it really blocks out a lot of the sounds that you're trying to hear, and that happens every single round in S&D once the time gets to a certain point. Here are my brightness settings. Again, nothing crazy, pretty standard competitive settings from back in the day that I've just brought forward. The last section of the video will be about cosmetics. I am personally not someone who cares much about cosmetics. I usually like to have my character or weapon looking as bland as possible. This is a different case though when we're talking about reticles, reticle colors, and lens colors. There are some optimal options that you can use to help improve visibility. Not only will these options help keep your sights fresh by preventing the visuals from getting stale, but they look cool too. Any reticle that you see is an acceptable option to choose. The same goes for reticle color and lens color. Feel free to make out any combination from what I'm showing on screen. If I don't show it, I would avoid it because it's not easy on the eyes to look at and to aim with. Last but not least, the most important part of the video. I know this is what you guys were all waiting for. Are you ready? Face paint. There is one face paint and one face paint only that you should be using to give yourself the largest competitive advantage possible. BLITZ.
No, I don't want them to gain another yard.
You blitz all night! And if they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm gonna take every last one of you out. You make sure they remember forever the night they played the Titans.
Next week, we got the Black Ops 2 competitive classes. Now, if you thought this was in depth, I don't even know what to tell you when it comes to Black Ops 2. This game has like the most limited meta in all of competitive COD history, and I really stretched it for this video. Next video in Black Ops 2, I literally have to go into class setup theory. I can't even tell you what classes to pick. I have to show you the theory behind picking classes before you can even decide what class to pick, because there are probably about 100 different class setup combinations, and me just showing you a class doesn't do it justice. You need to know what classes are, why you need to pick them, and so on. That's Black Ops 2. That's a video that is coming soon next week. I'm going to try to do once a week on Fridays. That's my goal. That's my plan. You know, it's what I can manage right now. But I really appreciate all of the support you guys have been showing me recently. Me getting back into this and just seeing your guys' comments and just seeing the support that I've been shown from that last video. We will continue through with the Constitution series, but with these ports, I'll be honest, I got a bit sidetracked because two of my favorite games. So we're stopping a little bit, right? You know, we're stopping with the Constitution temporarily. We're putting it on pause, putting it on hold, and we're going into some class setups. And let me know in the comments if you would like to see weekly, let's say Friday night, Saturday night, 8s sessions that alternates between Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2. So for example, 1 week Black Ops 1 on Friday and Black Ops 2 on Saturday, then you swap it, so Black Ops 2 on Friday, Black Ops 1 on Saturday, and we play that over the weekend. Just let me know if you'd be interested in these community 8s sessions. And we could play regularly. It doesn't matter if you win or lose, you're just enjoying the game, just have fun, just get back into those glory days of what Call of Duty, competitive Call of Duty used to be. If that's something you're interested in, let me know down below. Other than that, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I truly do appreciate every single one of you guys for watching. I would shake your hand and make eye contact with you while doing it if I could. Thank you very much. You guys have a great rest of your day.